Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for the 7th in a 25-ish part series, journeying couple of chapters by couple of chapters through Holly by Stephen King. So what we will have in this video is a So What Happened portion, where we just sort of recap what happened in these two chapters. Then we will have a Lit Crit portion, where I have 3 things to talk about this week, and then a Writer's Corner portion where I have just one thing that I'm going to talk about here. But man, it's a big one, and it's something we would not have seen from Stephen King before, at least to my experiences with Stephen King. So what happened in these 2 chapters of Holly? Well, Em and Rod hear that the campus will be shut down on the 7th of December. Now they can't have their super special Christmas party. They've had it every year since 1992. What a bummer. But alas, Em has a moment of pure brilliance, suggesting that they could have what is known as a Zoom party. Wouldn't that be just cool? Complete with elves that make house calls for some reason. That's not really explained in this chapter, at least not to my reading. So, okay, I'm not sure what the elves are doing, but that's cool. But it also shows us that they do take the COVID stuff so seriously, that we're going to have these people traveling to your house. The Harris's delivery elf arrives, and she is a cute blonde with great legs. Stephen, blonde when it's a woman is Blonde. But anyway, cute blonde, great legs. Hey, they might have something in store for her. Turns out her name is Bonnie Doll. Bum, bum, bum. Cut to Jerome visiting with Stinky Steinman's mom. She's a drinker, and things are going okay enough, but he can tell that she keeps going back to the kitchen and getting a drink, and she walks as if she is still sober, but she smells like gin. And guys, as someone who was probably too much of a drinker himself for years and years of his life, gin is what you drink when you are hoity-toity or when you are really down on your luck. Now, look, this might not seem obvious, but I'm going to let you in on something. Oftentimes, establishments will have gin at the very front of their liquor aisle. Well, that doesn't make sense, not from a marketing standpoint. If you are going to bring people into your liquor aisle, you want them to be looking at the most popular things, except that many places, the liquor aisle closes extraneous to the store, meaning the liquor aisle will have different hours of operation than does the store itself. So you have to lock the liquor aisle. Normally, it's just a fence that you pull across, right? And you can reach through the fence. So you put the stuff closest to the fence that no one wants to steal. That's gin. Anyway, let's move on. So at the end of the night, he is let into Stinky's room, and he's looking at the skateboard when Miss Steinman retreats for another drink, and she ends up collapsing and having a seizure in Jerome's arms. Now, there maybe... we'll get to it. We'll get to it. The first thing that I have in the Lit Crit portion of this video is Righteous Fury. You'll see that note there because I can't tell you how angry I was, how truly furious I was reading this first chapter with Em and Rod, because until it came about that their little delivery elf was Bonnie Doll, I thought we had an entire chapter of these old folks setting up a Christmas party. And look, I know that might sound as if, hey, are you not allowed to put a chapter about setting up a Christmas party in a novel? No, not really. You aren't. And why aren't you? Because it had nothing to do with this story. Now, it turned out that we slipped in Bonnie Doll, and that makes the whole chapter redeemed almost. But I was furious reading this. I cannot describe to you how angry I was, believing that Stephen King was just setting up a chapter for a Christmas party. I don't normally get into readers' response stuff on this channel. It's not the stuff that's interesting to me, and there are plenty of channels on YouTube where you can get readers' response, just people talking about how a book made them feel. The reason I'm talking about it is because I don't talk about it. It was almost a no-go for me. I almost did the skim reading thing through this chapter as opposed to reading closely to try to pick things up. That is how frustrated this book makes me at times. Now, the second thing here is a big idea that I will come back to in the video. The number 2 there, it should absolutely be Holly, who is there with Miss Steinman. The bit about when he asks her, does she think he's dead? Does Stinky's mom believe that Stinky is dead? He doesn't call him Stinky. That would be perhaps a breach of taste. But he asks her, do you think he's dead? And she replies to him, during the day, I don't. During the day, I have hope. During the day, I believe that my son is still alive. At night, I've given up hope. By the time the night comes, I am deciding to get drunk, and even the liquor itself cannot convince me that my son is alive. Number one, that's emotional gold, right? So it's unfortunate, but that is the emotional gold that for which you come to literature. These little nuances of the human experience are one of the large reasons that literature has proven so useful. The utilitarian nature of literature is such that we can experience, feel, see, and do things without putting ourselves in that type of danger or situation. These grow our compassion as people, which is one of the biggest driving forces to literature being a meme in the human experience, being something that replicates in the human experience because literature makes us stronger people, better people, more compassionate people. That's the literary gold here, and we don't even have our protagonist to experience it with. So why is another reason that it would make sense to have her here? She was just questioning. Holly was just questioning, why am I doing this? I'm a millionaire now. I just inherited my dead mother's millions of dollars. I don't need this stuff. Why am I doing this? If Holly had been on that couch across from Miss Steinman, it could have been Holly experiencing these things with her. All of a sudden, she has an investment in this case. She has a little bit of it from Bonnie's mother. But in those chapters with Bonnie's mother, even Holly seems a little bit to be stressed out by the woman. Even Holly seems a little bit to be unconvinced that Bonnie is not just living her life as an adult somewhere. If Holly was on this couch with Miss Steinman, Holly gets to put together, look, These are two missing persons right in the same sort of area, and maybe I could provide relief to this woman, even if her son is dead, simply by letting her know, because Miss Steinman does say during the chapter that hope is the cruelest torture or worst torture, something like that. Yeah. Even if what Holly is doing is buying into this case in order to say, look, kind of compelling that there's two missing persons in such close proximity. We should look into this. I have an investment a bit from Bonnie's mom, but here I am with this mother of a child that is missing, that has gone missing. A child. It is unlikely that a child ran away. The last thing I have to say in the lit crit portion of this is on 114. I'm going to read you. Jerome is entering Pete Steinman's room. Pete's room has Pete Steinman, HQ, Dymo taped on the door. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. This is taking place, this part of the story, in 2020, 2021. The kid was 13. The kid was born in the 2010s. No, he doesn't have a Dymo tape thing. I barely had, I'm 38. I had a Dymo tape thing I remember distinctly from a garage sale. By the time I was a child, it was difficult to find that tape places. They used to sell it in the same aisle as typewriters. Yes, I am old enough to remember an entire aisle at Walmart of typewriters. They used to have an entire aisle of them, and that Dymo tape was there. No, he does not have Dymo tape. Okay, maybe. I don't know what's hip with the kids these days, but I very highly doubt it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in the writer's corner here, seriously though, why is not Holly the one sitting across from Miss Steinman? On a writerly level, what we're doing here, when you talk about writing, really, all you're ever doing is talking about why would someone want to read this. That's what craft is. Making stuff that someone wants to read. That's craft. Boil it down. That's what it is. Sometimes you are questioning, why do I want certain people to read it? What is my audience level? What is my audience's expectation? Really, so if a story is good enough, if the craft is good enough, people read it without wondering why they're reading it. On a craft level, on a sympathize with your reader level, Holly should be with Mrs. Steinman because of this. If Holly, your protagonist, cannot invest in this interview with Miss Steinman, why can your reader? We, as the reader, look at this. We are confronted with this meeting extraneous to any of the characters that we know. This is our first time meeting Miss Steinman. This is our second time, I believe, in this novel at least, meeting Jerome. I understand he might have previous history with Holly. All you can write for is this book. So so at the end of the meeting, she collapses and Jerome catches her. Maybe that's why Jerome's there. Jerome seems to be looking at Miss Steinman in an overtly sexual way the entire time he's there. Maybe that's why he's there. It doesn't make any sense to have the first meeting between Miss Steinman and a character to be Miss Steinman and a character that just walked into the novel. Stuff like this seems simple. Oh, okay, I understand why. The emotional investment from the reader comes from the emotional investment in one of the characters in whom we are emotionally invested, that being Holly or M and Rod. Those are our three main characters here. Stuff like this seems simple, and it is. But it's a mistake. This is not simply a matter of taste. This is not simply, well, I have to have someone else in the novel do something. This is a mistake. Plain and simple. I don't care. There are a lot of people who say there are no mistakes in writing. You can't make a mistake in something that is made up. So why you can't say that writing is wrong? This is wrong. This is a mistake. This should have been Holly with Miss Steinman. And it's a mistake that a writer like Stephen King did not use to make. Everything in this story begs for Holly to be the one sitting across from Miss Steinman. Why would it be Jerome? Why would it be here on the page, an entire chapter, 110 pages-ish into the book, between two characters we don't know? You can do that. You can do that in a way that is compelling. You can do that in a way that will have emotional payload. That is not this. This is simply a mistake. If you want later for Jerome to meet Miss Steinman, that's fine. Miss Steinman and that emotional pay dirt of, I imagine my son is alive during the day. At night, I know he's dead. That emotional pay dirt, the emotional pay dirt of the drunken mother who blames herself for her son's death, disappearance, running away, depending on what time of the day she finds herself, that pay dirt needs to be with your protagonist. Your protagonist who is suddenly questioning, I have all of this money. Why do I need to do this job? You give her a reason. That is all I have for this episode. The seventh in what I believe is a 25-part series. I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but yeah, I hope to have you back for the next one.